Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Jordan's Publishing. It's a book we've reviewed before. It's known to us in the legal profession as the Brown Book. It's this book here, the Civil Court Service 2016. We'll have a look at it in a minute and I'll tell you a little bit about what we think of it, because it's very much a book that comes to us together with other similar practitioner books on civil procedure. Now, Elizabeth and I have reviewed this work. We've reviewed it in the past, and for this edition we've given it, for our review title, the following: Precise, Detailed and Authoritative, the new 2016 Brown Book is now out. Let's have a look at it first of all. Here it is. It's a heavy book. It's one volume. There we go. Hardback, front, and then there's the spine. Now there's nothing on the back at all. You can see there are some shaded areas, the largest bit being the civil procedure rules area, setting out all of the different rules. That's the middle of the book there. Let me go to the back first of all. You'll see there is a CD, and in the inside covers you have a list of all the various parts for the civil procedure rules. That's the back. The front of it obviously has a diary, calendars rather, for what in fact is available, but at the back you have the last 2 pages, the actual civil procedure rules by name. Then before that you've got a very detailed index. The index is listed by page number, so you can find things very quickly. And then you've got various sections of the service itself, which is available online, as well as a CD. Now the details of the book are contained there. There's the front page. It's a heavy book, runs to a very large number of pages. I think it's about 3,000 odd, if I remember. No, just under 3,000 pages. This is the detail of who the people are responsible for this book. You can see the names there. You've got as the Editor-in-Chief, Lord Justice Laws, and then founding editors, Richard Stevens and Bill Vincent, and the general editor at the moment is District Judge Graham Smith. Now the information available, as well as I say, is all the basic information is there concerning what you want to find about the work itself. There is a service to go with it. The Civil Court Service sets up the civil procedure rules, that's all that information there, as at the 25th of April 2016. Later amendments are taken into account wherever possible. Then there are various forwards to the original edition. The introduction is the most important part of this particular book because it tells you what's new from previous editions, and Graham Smith has set out quite a lot of important series of points, certainly concerning things that have changed in the last year. Then you've got the table of statutes and statutory instruments there. Then you've got a very large number of cases, of course, listed, and then after that you've got the contents. And it's split up into various sections. This is section 1, which is the procedural guides, and as I say, you've got a shaded area there which shows you what it's all about. You do have a lot of very useful information just before you get to the sections itself. You have abbreviations, always important in this area of law, mainly about the Acts of Parliament, abbreviating and so on. There's a table of practice directions which I did find quite helpful. Then after the basic information, which is procedural guides, you've then got the CPR itself, the Civil Procedure Rules. Then after that you've got specific areas of practice. It's called Other Practice Direction Areas, including insolvency practice, insolvency proceedings, pre-action protocol, and the various different protocols are listed again under a separate heading, very important in this day and age, with various schedules. For instance, this is housing disrepair, you can see the schedule there. Then you've got, again, pre-action protocols. Then you have the various court guides, again extremely useful. It starts with Admiralty, then you've got the Chancery Guide and the Patents Court Guide and so forth. Then you've got various Acts of Parliament right at the back, and right at the end you've got some miscellaneous things such as weights and measures, for instance. Now, what you've got in the CD is all this information which you can download, which is very helpful because you can take sections of it with you if you're going to court, rather than trying to take the whole book with you. Remember that this book is in competition effectively with the green book over here, which you probably can't see on camera, the white book, which is the one that just about everybody refers to in any event, but the brown book has its own special points, and I'll tell you about them in a moment. Obviously there is also the Blackstone Civil Practice, which of course is used effectively by certainly by students, and I've certainly used it in the past for court work, but I have found the bottom line on a lot of it is you have to define which books the court actually uses. Normally the white book and the green book will certainly be there, and also the brown book, but it depends really on what you're actually doing as to what you actually need by way of a practice book to take with you to court. Let me tell you a bit about the work anyway. As I say, it's published by Jordans, and we say this, we say if you're a civil practitioner fed up to the back teeth with lugging 4-volume civil practice books from court to court, in a trolley case, day by day, upstairs and down, be mindful that there are other options. And this one, the brown book from Jordans, is an excellent option. And of course we are calling it it's the Civil Courts Service 2016, familiarly known as the brown book. Now, if any detailed, precise and highly regarded reference book is needed, this one of almost 3,000 words is actually it, because it's compact, and that's exactly what you may well be looking for depending on what you're doing. But as I said, this book I found very useful to highlight quite a lot of the particular points that one might like. It may be necessarily large, of course, but it is in a single volume and it's handy. And as it's used in any number of courts, the practitioner going to court accompanied by the brown book, we think, can feel confident in the detail of its authority, because it certainly does have an awful lot of information just in the one volume. And quite often I've certainly found that if there are any specific arguments that are going to have to be put forward, one of the important things that you will be given is a little bit of time to try to sort out exactly what particular point the judge is or your opponent is arguing about, and that could well mean that you are referring to the white book as well. And speaking of the proliferation of laws and cases over the years, and the dismayingly increasing bulk of those works of reference that must accommodate them, and there has been a huge growth, the editorial stance of this book is reassuring in that it anticipates, among other technical developments, the establishment in England and Wales of online courts. Now, I would bear in mind that the publication date for this is actually February 2016, and things have moved ahead. I'm recording this actual video clip in the summer of 2016. Now, it is clear, comments General Editor Graham Smith in his introduction, that there is likely to be a fundamentally different way of working with the online court, with its initial largely automated interactive triage stage, as he calls it, followed by conciliation and management at stage 2, and finally resolution by judges at stage 3. It would appear, he adds, that the rules, particularly in the first stage, are likely to be very different from the CPR. Now, we are awaiting that, but clearly there are going to be some changes as the online system comes in for some cases. None of this, of course, is likely to happen immediately, and when it does, perhaps more paperwork will be generated rather than less. And of course, it's all dependent really on the Briggs report, which is included as a reference in terms of the inevitability of the introduction of online courts. And as you know, the Briggs report was published in July 2016, and we are at this stage awaiting further developments with the report itself. The likelihood, though, is that online courts are still at this stage probably 3 or 4 years away. And of course, that day before that day arrives, and probably long afterwards, the trusty Brown Book will continue to be the organised practitioner's indispensable friend, this book here. And I certainly do think it is. I found it very helpful, and that is not to say anything about either the Green Book or the White Book, because when I did my training I was brought up on the White Book, which was then the Supreme Court book, and the Green Book, which was the County Court book. So things have changed quite a lot in the preceding 25 to 30 years. Now the new 2016 edition has been updated to include much new material. It's too much really to list here, but it's important to note, for example, that there have been significant changes to the law relating to housing, resulting mainly from the Deregulation Act of 2015, and of interest to the legal profession, allegations of misconduct in differing shapes and forms which have landed in the courts. Now, presenting the expertise of no less than 16 expert contributors, the civil court practice, in fact the civil court service as it's correctly called, contains the resources and materials, the information and the expert commentary that the practitioner is likely to need. The editors have identified those practice directions, the PDs, that are currently raising concerns for practitioners. I found that very helpful. And as practitioners, of course, we're most grateful for the advice given in this reliable and authoritative work. Also, I think of use are the lengthy tables of statutes, statutory instruments, cases and practice directions, followed by the 8 sections themselves, which I've shown you, which provide everything from the procedural guides to the civil procedure rules, the CPRs themselves, and the PDs themselves, also to the court guides, the fees and the additional statutory material. Do bear in mind with court fees that the actual fee levels can change. So if you have any doubts, asking the court is virtually impossible these days. Getting the judge to tell you is virtually impossible as well. So the only way you can really do it is go online and see what it actually says. But be aware that judges, like everybody else, do make mistakes. So you've got to be as up to date as possible. This book, of course, is particularly up to date at the moment. Let me say finally, and this will delight you if you're typically a time-pressed practitioner, there's the CPR Quick Finder at the back, which I mentioned to you, which you'll also find with the CD accompanying it on the inside back cover. We think it's contemporary in outlook and designed to keep you up to date. The Brown Book isn't just a book, it's a service, and a very good value one too for the busy practice. So thank you very much indeed to Jordans and all the people involved in producing this book. As I say, the publication date is cited at February, the end of February 2016. Let's just have a quick look at the book again. There it is. There's the front, spine, nothing on the back. Let me just open it in the middle. This is the Civil Procedure Rules, Practice Direction 56 to go with the CPR. There we go. You see the structure of the book. It's very, very detailed indeed, and you have a large number of notes which are extremely helpful. I'd like to thank everybody concerned anyway for this book. It's an extremely valuable contribution to our practice, and without having these books we can't do our job. So thank you to all concerned. Bye-bye.